Okay, so, have you heard about this? There's a new AI player, Deepseek.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing about that.
Silicon Valley is kind of freaking out about it. It seems like it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no kidding. It's like nobody saw this coming. Even the big tech companies seemed caught off guard.
I know. Like, how did this even happen?
What's really interesting is that it's not even from Silicon Valley.
No.
It's from Hangzhou, sometimes called China's Silicon Valley.
Oh, wow. That adds another layer to this, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they didn't just sort of ease into the market or anything.
They went straight to the top.
Yeah, they went straight to the top of the Apple Store charts, practically overnight.
That's amazing. So what is Deepseek exactly, and why is everyone making such a big deal about it?
Well, at its core, it's an AI chatbot.
Okay.
Similar to ChatGPT, if you're familiar with that.
Yeah.
Basically, it understands and generates human-like text. But here's the thing. It's multilingual.
Multilingual.
Meaning it can understand and communicate and process information in multiple languages.
Wow. I bet that's a big part of its appeal.
Oh, for sure.
Being able to reach a global audience right out of the gate, that's huge.
Absolutely. And the way they did it is also very interesting.
How so?
They used a new type of transformer architecture during the training process.
Okay, so how is that different from what other AI companies are doing?
Well, most models are trained on one language first and then adapted later for other languages.
Yeah.
But Deepseek was trained on multiple languages at the same time.
Simultaneously.
Yeah. And that's a big reason why its multilingual communication is so much more natural and accurate.
So it's not just translating, it's actually like...
It's actually understanding and responding in different languages.
Yeah. Okay. That's impressive.
Yeah. And it's definitely shaking things up.
How so?
Well, when Deepseek launched, the NASDAQ AI index actually dropped 5%.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how concerned investors are.
So they're worried that the established players are going to start losing market share.
Basically, yeah. They see this as a serious threat.
It's like Deepseek threw this giant rock into the AI pond, and the ripples are reaching all the way to Wall Street.
That's a great analogy.
What I don't get is, if it's so similar to other chatbots, why is it causing such a panic?
Well, you see, Deepseek is offering comparable performance to the big names.
Okay.
But at a much lower cost.
Okay.
So for businesses and individuals...
It's way more appealing.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer. You get cutting-edge technology without that Silicon Valley price tag.
That's a classic disruption strategy, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's hitting them hard.
Yeah. And they're not mincing words about it either. I read that one French news outlet even said, hold on, let me find the quote here. Silicon Valley en panique, Wall Street qui se fond.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that really sums it up, doesn't it?
Talk about a wake-up call.
Right.
I mean, are people overreacting, or is this a legitimate power shift happening in the AI world?
You know, I think it's a little of both. I think it's easy to get caught up in the hype. But DeepSeek's success definitely points to a change. A shift. Yeah, in how AI is being developed.
So what's changing? It sounds like it's not just about having the biggest team or the most resources anymore.
Right. It's not just about that. Silicon Valley has always been big on transparency and open source collaboration.
Okay.
But DeepSeek's creators, they're playing it close to the vest.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they haven't revealed much at all about their technology.
Is that making the established players nervous?
You bet it is.
So how are the big tech companies reacting to all of this?
They're definitely scrambling. They're trying to figure out what their next move is.
What can they do?
I don't know. DeepSeek has exposed a vulnerability in their whole model. That old assumption that the biggest companies will always stay ahead, it just doesn't hold true anymore.
That's true. So much of their dominance was built on that idea.
Yeah. Agility and innovation and maybe even a bit of strategic secrecy. It seems like that's the new game.
It's like the old guard just realized they're not the only ones in the game anymore. But what does all this mean for, someone who's not a tech insider? Why should they care about this AI shakeup?
Well, think about it this way. Imagine a world where language is no longer a barrier to accessing information.
Okay. Yeah.
Or connecting with others.
Yeah.
Or even doing business.
Right.
DeepSeek is like a glimpse into that future.
Wow, that's a big thought.
It is.
So this is bigger than just chatbots.
Oh, for sure.
This is about how AI is changing the way we communicate and interact with the world.
Exactly. And it goes beyond just language. The potential applications, they're vast. We could be talking about research, creative writing, even assisting with legal work.
Hold on, legal work? You mean like AI actually drafting contracts?
Well, not quite that advanced yet. but it's certainly within the realm of possibility.
Wow.
I mean, they can already analyze legal documents,
Oh,
identify potential issues, suggest revisions.
that's incredible.
It is.
A little bit scary, to be honest.
Yeah, it is a lot to wrap your head around.
Yeah,
Even a few years ago, this would have been science fiction.
totally.
But AI is advancing incredibly fast, and Deepseek is really driving that point home.
Okay, let's unpack this a little more.
Sure.
So these chatbots are obviously super capable, but what are their limitations? Are there downsides to their growing popularity?
Well, one thing that concerns me is this black box problem.
What do you mean by that?
Well, Deepseek is delivering these amazing results.
Right.
But we don't really know how it works. The creators haven't shared those details
Why does that matter if it's working?
because understanding the inner workings of AI is crucial for a few reasons. For one, it helps us identify and address any potential biases in this system,
Yeah, that makes sense.
or errors, things like that.
Right.
Plus, without that transparency, it's harder to fully trust the AI's output.
Right. It's kind of like trusting a chef who won't tell you what ingredients they're using.
Haha, exactly.
You might love the dish, but you're always going to have that little bit of doubt.
Right.
Right.
And that trust factor just becomes more and more important as AI becomes more integrated into our lives.
For sure. So it's not just about celebrating all the amazing things AI can do.
Yeah.
It's also about being aware of the potential risks and the challenges, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to approach AI development with, both enthusiasm and caution.
Okay.
It's this incredibly powerful tool that could totally reshape our world, but it's up to us to make sure it's used responsibly.
Ethically.
Ethically, yeah.
Well said. Speaking of ethical considerations, there's another topic that's been getting a lot of attention lately.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk about the potential impact of AI on the workforce.
Well, that's a big one.
Yeah, with AI automating more and more tasks, there's growing concern about, job displacement
For sure.
and the need for workers to adapt and learn new skills, new roles.
Absolutely. It's a very valid concern.
It is. But some people also argue that AI will create new opportunities,
Right.
new industries that we can't even imagine yet.
Yeah. And I think they have a point. It's not necessarily a zero-sum game. I think the key is to be proactive, to embrace lifelong learning.
So we need to be prepared to adapt and evolve alongside these technologies.
That's right.
So it's less about fearing the robots taking over
Mm-hmm.
and more about figuring out how we can work alongside them
Yes.
to create a better future.
Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Okay, I think we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive
We have.
into Deepseek. We've talked about its capabilities.
It's impressive capability.
Yeah, its disruptive impact on the market, the broader implications for the future of AI development. It's a lot.
There's a lot to unpack.
But we've only just scratched the surface, right?
Yeah, there's so much more to explore. I mean, we could talk about the technical details of DeepSeek's architecture, or we could talk about the global race for AI dominance.
So much more to discuss, and that's where we'll pick up in the next part of our deep dive. But until then, we encourage you to do a little exploring of your own. Check out Deepseek.
Yeah, play around with it, see what it can do.
Play around with its features and form your own opinions about, its potential.
And its limitations.
Because the world of AI is changing fast, and it's up to all of us to stay informed
Engaged.
and ready to embrace the possibilities.
Absolutely.
All right, so we're back and, diving deeper into this whole DeepSeek thing.
Yeah.
The future of AI and everything. And I have to say, it's fascinating how one company has managed to,
Shake things up.
really shake things up so dramatically.
It's really kind of unprecedented.
It is.
And I think one of the most interesting parts is how they've challenged the traditional, Silicon Valley
Playbook.
playbook. Exactly.
You mentioned their secrecy before the break. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah. So, in the past, there was this idea that, the more open and collaborative the AI community was.
Faster progress would be made.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
So open source models, shared research, that was kind of like the norm.
And DeepSeek has kind of turned that on its head.
Yeah. In a way, they have.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're being very secretive about, the specifics of their technology.
Right.
And it's making some people very uncomfortable.
I can understand why, yeah. It goes against how things have been done for so long.
Mm.
But is it necessarily like a bad thing?
It's a really complex issue, actually.
Okay.
I mean, there are definitely valid arguments on both sides. So on the one hand, transparency is good, right?
Right.
Because it allows for scrutiny,
Okay.
collaboration, better understanding of how these systems actually work.
Which is super important if we want to make sure, that AI is used ethically and responsibly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, on the other hand, there's also this argument to be made for protecting intellectual property,
Right.
maintaining that competitive edge.
Especially in a field like AI, where things are moving so fast.
Yeah.
And there's so much money at stake.
Right. And I think Deepseek's success, it kind of shows that this approach,
It can work.
it can work. Yeah. They've managed to kind of leapfrog ahead of some of those big companies
Yeah.
by, just playing things close to the chest.
It's a risky strategy, but
Right.
it seems to be paying off, at least for now.
It is. And I think it's
Yeah.
forcing a lot of other companies to rethink their approach to AI development.
Right. So it's not just about the technology itself. It's about the strategies
Yeah,
and philosophies behind it.
absolutely.
Right.
And DeepSeek has really brought all of that to the forefront.
It has, yeah. So let's shift gears a bit. I want to talk about the global implications of all of this.
Sure.
Of DeepSeek's emergence. We touched on it a little bit before, but I want to get your thoughts on how all of this is playing into, the broader competition for AI dominance.
Right, right. Well, I think one thing that's become really clear is that, DeepSeek's success is a signal
A signal of what?
that the kind of epicenter of AI innovation, it's no longer just Silicon Valley.
Yeah, we're seeing really cool things happening all over the place. China, Europe, Canada.
Right. And you know what? I think that's a good thing.
Really?
Yeah, because it creates a more kind of multipolar world, right?
Yeah.
So different countries, different regions, they're all competing, they're vying for that leadership in AI research and development.
Some people see that as a really positive thing.
Mhm.
More competition can lead to faster innovation.
Absolutely.
And it brings in a wider range of perspectives, too, which is always good.
I agree. And I think it's a chance for us to kind of move away from that winner takes all
Mentality.
yeah, and move towards something more collaborative.
More cooperative.
Cooperative, yeah.
That's a really encouraging thought. But, there are also some concerns, right?
Oh, of course, yeah.
That this competition could get too heated
Yeah.
and maybe lead to some kind of conflict or even like a fragmentation of the AI community.
Those are valid concerns. So I think it's really crucial that, we find ways to kind of foster that healthy competition, but also promote international cooperation,
Yeah.
and establish these shared ethical guidelines.
It's a tough balance to strike.
It is, yeah.
But it's one that I think is absolutely essential if we want to, really harness the full potential of AI.
Right. And make sure it benefits everyone, not just a select few.
Exactly, yeah. So this isn't just about, national pride or economic gain.
No. This is bigger than that. It's about shaping the future, our future, and making sure that AI is used to address some of those big challenges that we face.
Absolutely, like climate change,
Right.
healthcare, poverty, you name it.
Yeah, all of that. And I think to do that effectively, we need those diverse voices, those different perspectives involved in how we develop and deploy these technologies.
So in a way, DeepSeek's emergence, it's kind of like a wake-up call, isn't it?
I think so, yeah.
It's a reminder that the AI landscape is changing, it's shifting, and it's shifting quickly.
Yeah.
And we need to be ready to, adapt, to evolve along with it.
We do. And it's also an invitation, to think bigger, to collaborate more, and to approach this whole thing, AI development, with a real sense of, shared responsibility.
Well said, well said. Okay, so I want to zoom in a little bit here and talk about DeepSeek's potential impact on some specific industries. We've talked about it, in research, in writing,
Yeah.
even legal work. But where else do you see it making waves?
One area that I think is particularly interesting is customer service.
Okay, yeah?
Imagine, AI chatbots that can handle inquiries,
Mm-hmm.
but in multiple languages, 247.
That would be a game changer for businesses operating, globally.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. It could, significantly reduce costs, improve response times.
Customer satisfaction.
Yeah.
And it could free up the human customer service representatives to focus on those, more complex cases or more nuanced interactions.
Right, exactly. And it's not about replacing humans,
Right.
It's
about augmenting their capabilities.
Augmenting, yes, and allowing them to focus on those tasks that really require that human touch.
Empathy, creativity, problem solving.
Exactly. And another area where I think DeepSeek could have a really big impact, education.
Okay.
Think about it. Imagine personalized tutoring systems.
Right.
that can adapt to each student's individual needs,
Wow.
learning styles, regardless of what language they speak.
That's a really powerful idea. I mean, that could really democratize access to education, empower learners all over the world.
It could, and it could help to bridge that digital divide, too.
Yeah.
Make educational resources accessible to people who, may not have had the opportunity before.
These are some exciting possibilities.
They are.
But we can't forget about the potential downsides either.
No.
We've talked about, the black box problem,
Yeah,
job displacement,
right.
the need for ethical guidelines. Are there any other concerns that we should be aware of?
One that I think is especially relevant with Deepseek is just the potential for misuse or malicious use of the technology.
Yeah. Given its capabilities, I mean, it's not hard to imagine how it could be used for things like, generating fake news,
Right.
spreading misinformation, creating sophisticated phishing scams.
Yeah, it could be really dangerous in the wrong hands. And because it's so good at mimicking human language,
Yeah.
it could be really hard to even detect those uses.
So we really need to be thinking about safeguards and detection mechanisms now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's another area where I think that transparency and collaboration are really important.
Yeah.
We need everybody, researchers, developers, policymakers, all working together to address these challenges and ensure that this powerful technology is used for good, not for harm.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today.
A lot.
From Deepseek's unique capabilities, the disruptive impact it's having,
Yeah.
the broader implications for the future of AI development. But there's still one big question kind of looming in my mind.
What's that?
What does Deepseek's kind of sudden success, what does it tell us about the future of AI development?
That's a good question.
Yeah. I mean, will we see more surprises like this?
Right.
From, unexpected players?
All right.
Is this, this winner-takes-all mentality, is that over?
Yeah. These are big questions, and they're not easy to answer.
They're not.
And they're ones that we'll be exploring in the next part of our deep dive.
We will.
But before we wrap up this segment, I want to hear from you. What stood out to you the most in this conversation so far?
What are you most excited about when it comes to AI? What are you most concerned about? We'll be back in just a bit to, delve even deeper into the world of Deepseek and the evolving AI landscape. Okay, so we're back for the final part of our Deepseek deep dive. And honestly, it feels like we've only just scratched the surface.
I know, right?
There's just so much to think about, like its impact on the whole AI landscape, the global competition, the ethical implications. It's
a lot.
It's a lot.
Deepseek has really thrown a wrench into a lot of the predictions about where AI was headed.
Yeah. Before we get to the listener questions, I have one more for you.
Okay.
You were talking earlier about how Deepseek's success might kind of signal a move away from this winner-takes-all mentality in AI development.
Right.
Can you expand on that a little bit?
Sure. So for a long time, the assumption was that, a few big companies, they were just going to dominate the field.
Right.
Right. Because they have all the resources, the data, the talent.
Right. It just made sense.
Yeah. But Deepseek kind of challenges that idea,
It does.
It's like they're saying, hey, wait a minute. There's room for new players at the table.
New approaches.
Yeah. New ways of thinking about collaboration.
Yeah. And I have to say, I think that's a good thing for the field as a whole.
Oh, I agree.
More diversity of thought, more experimentation. That's what ultimately leads to
more innovation.
Yeah.
More breakthrough.
Oh, exactly.
It pushes everyone forward.
So instead of having this single dominant force, kind of dictating the direction that AI goes in, we might see something
a little more
decentralized.
Decentralized.
Yeah. Multipolar,
yeah. A little more messy maybe, but also way more interesting.
Yeah. It's a much more vibrant ecosystem then, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
So you have all these different approaches and ideas, and they can kind of flourish,
Yeah. That's a really, really interesting thought. It makes me wonder if we're on the verge of this whole new era of AI development.
I think we might be.
One that's more collaborative, more inclusive, and ultimately, I think, more beneficial for everyone.
Yeah, I think that's the hope. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a really exciting time to be paying attention to all of this. Okay, let's turn to some of the listener questions now. I got a ton of great ones.
Yeah, they're really thoughtful questions.
Yeah, and I think they reflect a lot of the, the hopes and anxieties that people have about this whole, AI era that we seem to be moving into.
Definitely. I think these are questions that everyone's asking right now.
They are. So the first one is about the pace of AI development.
Go.
Some listeners are expressing concern that things are moving too fast.
Yeah?
That we're not really prepared for the potential consequences. What do you think about that?
Well, I think it's a valid concern. The pace of change in AI it's definitely rapid. There's no question.
It is.
It can feel overwhelming.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I would say it's moving too fast.
So it's not necessarily about, slowing down progress.
No.
But more about making sure that we're developing it responsibly.
Yeah, exactly. We need to be proactive in addressing those potential risks,
Right.
and those challenges.
Right.
So that means investing in research, making sure we're having these open and honest conversations, developing really robust ethical guidelines.
And it's not just the responsibility of researchers and
Yeah,
developers.
it's all of us.
Yeah.
Policymakers, businesses, individuals.
We all have a role to play.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a collective effort. We need to make sure that AI is being used to, enhance our lives,
Right.
not create more problems, or, exacerbate the ones we already have.
For sure. For sure. Another question that came up a lot was about job displacement.
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah. A lot of people are worried about, AI taking over jobs, leaving people unemployed. What would you say to those listeners who are feeling anxious about this?
Well, first of all, I would say it's totally understandable to feel anxious about that. I mean, automation has always disrupted industries,
Right.
and AI is no different.
Right.
But I think it's important to remember that, if you look at historical patterns, new jobs and new industries, they always emerge.
So it's not this doomsday scenario where robots just replace all the humans.
No. It's more nuanced than that. I
Mhm.
think AI will definitely change the nature of work, but it will also create new opportunities.
What kinds of opportunities are we talking about?
Well, we're already seeing a huge demand for people who can, develop AI systems, manage them, maintain them.
Right.
There's also going to be a growing need for people who can bridge that gap between, the technology and human needs.
People who can translate, kind of.
Yeah, translate in a way, yeah.
Yeah.
People who understand both the technical side of it, but also, the social implications, the ethical implications, the economic implications.
Yeah. So it's really about adapting, isn't it?
Adapting, evolving.
Evolving alongside these technologies.
Yeah. Lifelong learning is going to be key. Upskilling will be crucial. It's about, recognizing that the jobs of the future may not even exist today and being willing to kind of embrace those new challenges and opportunities.
Okay. All right. So our final listener question is maybe the most fundamental one of all.
Okay.
What does Deepseek's emergence tell us about the future of AI?
Big question.
Yeah, it is. I mean, is this a sign of things to come, or is it just, kind of a blip on the radar?
I don't think it's just a blip.
No.
I think it's, it represents a real shift in the landscape. It shows us that innovation can come from these unexpected places.
Yeah.
That agility and adaptability, they can be just as important as, size and resources.
Absolutely. I think it's also a reminder that we're still in those really early stages
Oh, yeah.
of this whole AI revolution.
The beginning, yeah.
And there are going to be a lot more surprises along the way.
Oh, definitely. And that's what makes it so exciting.
It is.
There's so much potential here, for AI to help us solve problems, to improve lives,
Yeah.
to create a better future, But I think we need to approach it with this sense of cautious optimism.
Yeah.
We got to be mindful of the risks.
But also open to those possibilities.
Right. And most importantly, I think, we have to remember that AI is a tool.
Right.
It's a powerful tool.
A really powerful tool, yeah.
But ultimately, it's a tool that we control.
Right, as humans.
Yeah. It's up to us to decide how we use it, to make sure that it serves our needs, that it reflects our values.
That's a responsibility we should all be thinking about.
I think so.
Well, on that note, I think this has been a really fascinating conversation.
It have.
It's been a really thought-provoking deep dive into Deepseek and, this whole rapidly evolving world of AI.
Yeah, it's a fast-moving target, that's for sure.
It is. It really is.
Yeah.
And to all of you listening out there, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep engaging with all of this.
Yes. Stay curious.
Because the future of AI is ultimately in our hands.